bonjour, good day, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how you're not actually an empath, you're just a human and you don't have a lot of boundaries. I know, just jumping in with the throat punch, but here we are. As humans, we all have the capacity to be empathetic. That is literally what we do as humans. That's how we connect. That's mutuality. Like that is a connection between two or more people. Is like it's empathetic. Like there's a lot of like similar feelings between people that you can recognize, right? So everybody is empathetic. Everybody has empathy. Everybody has the capacity for it, with the exception of diagnosed psychopaths. That's a totally different subject. But other than that, everybody has this capacity to be empathetic. So sorry to take away the special card. Like you're not so in tune with all of this that, like it's a magical thing. We literally all have access to it. That being said, if you grew up in a disrupted household or maybe an aggressive or a violent or like just not a safest place growing up, you probably have very high tuned skills to recognize where somebody might be at emotionally. Do we have slightly more heightened empathetic skilled people than others? Absolutely. And it is a skill. Like it is a beautiful skill to walk into a room and be like, that guy's having a bad day, he's pissed off, she's happy about something, blah, 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 right? Like to be able to just walk into a room of strangers and just know where they're at is huge. Like that is a big deal. Where it gets a little sideways is when you try to empathize with it a little too much. So for example, let's say somebody passed away, like, your friend just lost their grandma or something, right? And they're really upset. They're really close to grandma. Well, I lost my grandma. Like, I know exactly how you feel. Like, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, I am bringing my pain, my feelings onto hers in an attempt, I'm assuming it's a her, anyway, in an attempt to connect, right? So benevolent, like it's beautiful. You don't want this person to be hurting all by themselves, right? Like just like that human pull in you is just like, oh, my friend is hurting. I don't want that. So, I mean, it makes sense why you'd want to like connect that way. But when you're doing that, that's actually like covert narcissism because you're taking it, you're assuming you know how that person feels when how could you? You're not that person. You don't have their background. You don't have their stories. You don't have their experiences. You have yours. So there's a similarity, like you have experienced grief and they have experienced grief, but you going into that grief with them benefits nobody. And it takes away from the space that person needs to actually grieve. I know, this is so mean, right? But just go with me on it. So what do you do, right? Like, well, but I do feel like that. Like I know what they're going through and I know it's going to be okay. And like you might, and that's okay. But the best thing you can do in those situations is just see them. Like, hey, I see you're really hurting right now. I'm here for you. Like if you want to cry, if you want to rage, if you want to just be quiet, like I got you. So what you're doing in that case that's different is you're fully just bringing them in. Like you be all of you in what you need to be in this grief right now, and I'll just hold that space for you. Sure, maybe I've had tons of grief in my life and I've experienced all of that and I could totally empathize and I want to say all these, but that doesn't help, right? So just seeing that person, I see you. I see you're hurting. That is one of the best, most genuinely beautiful things empathetically you can do for somebody. And doing this helps you create a mutually beneficial boundary. You're not going down into their grief. You're not lowering your vibration to meet them where they're at because you're not in that experience. They are. So by you holding yourself up to that higher vibration and still holding that space for them, that allows that person, whenever they're ready, to come up and join you, right? Instead of lowering yourself down. You being in pain and like reliving your grief isn't helping anybody. And this goes for any of the emotions. So like anger, grief, sadness, joy. Yeah, you know what? Joy. You don't want to be a thunder stealer. We've all seen Friends. Don't steal anybody's thunder. But it is fun to celebrate with people. So that's a little bit different. But anyway, I'm talking more like those lower vibrations. It's just really just be there for the person and saying something like, I see you. And what you do when you're holding the space is you're allowing that person to go through all of the emotions they need to. And why this is important is because each emotion is a chemical reaction in the body. And if that chemical reaction gets stunted or shut down or locked down or suppressed, it can't come to fruition. And so it just gets locked in the body. And do that, and like that happens enough and it gets locked in over time, that's where you get like pain and aches and injuries and disease and dis-ease and discomfort and different postures. Like so much can be affected by this. So letting somebody just be all of who they need to be in whatever it is that they're feeling in that moment and just letting them do it, and you just sit back and hold that space, you're really helping them heal at an exponential rate because you're letting them be all of them while you be all of you. So to all of my empathic people out there and my empaths that feel everybody's energy and it's so draining, set some boundaries. That is not your shit to carry. So, okay, I had a pro tip. It just came to me. Pro tip is if you are one of those people that is like, well, what do I do? Like, it overwhelms me. Like, all I do is feel everybody's stuff. I don't know how to stop. What you can do is check in. So, like, let's say you're feeling like a lot of anxiety suddenly out of nowhere. You're like, what the fuck? Check in. Truth body, is this my anxiety? Like, is this ours? No. Return to sender with consciousness and love if you want. But just taking that, because it's benevolent. You're trying to take that pain, you're trying to take that angst, that ish, that whatever it is from the other person. That doesn't help them. So return it to them with love and consciousness will bring you to your higher vibration. It will create a boundary and it will let that person deal with what they have to deal with, and they still have you, right? So it creates that beautiful boundary for both of you. So, quick recap. Truth body, is this even my anxiety? Is this my anger? Is this my sadness? Is this my grief? Like, whatever it is that you're feeling from someone, and if it's not, send it away. You're not adding to whatever it is they're experiencing. You're just letting them deal with their own stuff. And if you get a yes, like, yeah, this is your anxiety. All right, well, then you ask other questions like, okay, body, what's going on here, right? Like, that's different, okay? So I hope this helps. Boundary setting, realizing everybody's empathetic. And if you're not very empathetic, it's an exercise you can start trying to do, right? And yeah, comment section. Is this you? Do you feel called out? Are you mad at me? Are you okay with this? Ooh, so many questions. Anyway, comment below. I will see you in the next video. And just as a friendly reminder, if you are looking for that self-help journey and really just like healing that inner child in you, check out my Reknowing series. All the details are below.